So hello from Green-Mopeds in London. So today we're going to compare a new bike from a company called Talaria, which is called the Sting, with the sort of incumbent and de facto choice for this sort of bike, which is the Surron Lightbee. This one happens to be the road legal version. This is obviously an off-road version. They both come in the other variety, but we thought it'd be useful to just show you some of the features of this bike, some of the similarities and differences, and hopefully that will help you make an informed decision. So let's get to it. So a little bit of the backstory around Talaria. The story goes that these are an ex-Surron people who've just decided that they wanted to take what they knew about the Surron LBX and improve upon it. Okay, so that's one story. Another story could just be that copyright law in China is pretty lax and someone just decided to make a copy and then do some other differences. But by the by, they are fairly similar bikes, as you'll see as we go round. So just to cover off again, that both bikes can come in either a road or off-road version. Okay, and the front end of these bikes is pretty much identical. Okay, in either version, when you see either version. So, for example, these are RST killer forks on this. You get RST killer forks on the Surron. You could put Fox 40s if you wanted to upgrade the forks on either bike. This light is the same light that goes on the off-road Surron. Other than the fact that these brake levers say Talaria on them, they are the same. They've come from the same place as what you see on a Surron. Okay, so front wheels are the same size as well, etc., etc. But there are differences as you go back along the bike. Just to cover off again, that this is road legal, and by road legal we mean mirrors. This is a light, it's got a horn, that's a road legal Speedo, rear brake light, and indicators. Okay, obviously if you bought the road legal Talaria Sting, you would have that too. Okay, and obviously if you bought the off-road Surron, you would have basically what's on the front of the Talaria. Okay, differences other than that on the off-road versus off-road, and we've covered this before, but just to highlight again, the road legal Surron is a 28 mile an hour and the road legal Sting is 28 mile an hour, moped license, insurance, helmet, and all that other good stuff is required. Okay, you can ride it from the age of 16 with a CBT, but it only goes 28 miles an hour. You can de-restrict these bikes and make them go over 45 or thereabouts, and once you've done that, they become a 125cc motorbike license. Okay, so in other words, you have to be 17, you must have done a CBT, or have an A1 or greater license. Okay, the off-road one goes 45 or 46 miles an hour out of the box. Okay, but they are not legal on the roads, and the reason for that is bikes that have a throttle only mode, as these do, as in you just have to twist the throttle, there's no pedal assistance at all. In fact, there are no pedals by default. You can buy pedal kits, but they are not by default. If a vehicle on throttle only mode goes more than walking pace, then it's illegal on the roads. Okay, so if you buy an off-road Sting or an off-road Lightbee, you can't ride them on the road. Okay, and there's so many discussions about that. Even the other day, someone was asking, well, can't we just take these off and this off and then ride it off-road? No, because you've just taken a vehicle and made it illegal. So it always comes up, so I thought I'd mention it again. But anyway, going around the bike, you'll see at the front end, they are identical. Same size wheels, other than the actual disc looking different, it's basically the same thing. These are killer forks from RST. You can get the same on the Surron. In fact, you can put the same front end parts you could buy if you couldn't find parts on a Surron, which sometimes is actually now a difficulty. You could pretty much buy Talaria parts for the front end piece and use those instead. Okay, because they are pretty much the same. Okay, in fact, you know, other than things like it's saying Surron here and it's saying Talaria there, you could still put these levers on that bike and it would still work. Okay, so that's that. If you actually look at the frame itself, here on the Surron, here you notice this is sort of like the shape of the frame. Okay, quite a simple piece. But if you look at the Sting, the frame is a lot more sort of complex, I suppose, or involved, which is possibly a good thing. I mean, this bit that supports the seat is actually a separate element on the Surron. You see here, this is separate, whereas this is built in. So the frame is actually different. They look pretty much the same, but they are actually different, okay? Here you'll notice also that you've got the telltale sign of a similar motor. It's not the same motor, although it might be, but it's not the same. Here you notice, for example, the pedals, same, okay? But there are differences. And one of the differences is, for example, the seat. If you look across the back of the seat, you'll see that there's more seat on a Talaria. Okay, there's more of it. Okay, well, that's good or bad. It looks a bit more comfortable, but it is higher. It's 2 centimeters higher, 87 centimeters high. Okay, so if you're a bit taller, and in fact, if you look at the bike, the Talaria just feels a bit bigger in total. Whether that's just down to some cosmetic things like this, is bigger than this. Okay, but it just feels bigger. And one of the actual real reasons for that is at the back end. So one of the things that they've done differently, here you see there's a chain guard. Okay, no chain guard on the Surron. Although this sprocket, again, interchangeable. If you took a 52 tooth sprocket and you wanted to put it on either bike, you will be able to do that. So you could go and find the actual extended chain and the sprocket, a bigger one if you wanted more torque, and put it on either bike. Okay, so that part again is standard. However, what you might spot here is that these wheels are different sizes, and that is because if you actually look down here, the rear swing arm on a Talaria is actually wider. You might not get it from the Surron. Okay, so these profile tyres are actually thinner than these profile tyres. Okay, so the reason for that is you see here they're 80s 119, and these are, although I might not be able to show you, these are 70s. Okay, so wider profile tyres because the rear swing arm is wider. Okay, so that's one difference. One of the other sort of more maybe important differences or improvements, I would say, is about how the transmission works on a Surron versus a Talaria. Okay, so here down there you can see that there's the motor. Okay, and just as an aside, if you look down there, you see the motor code that says 2021. So this is a 2021 model. Okay, and then what happens is, from the motor, there's a pulley that goes to this, which then turns this, which then drives the chain. Okay, on the Talaria, they've got away with that. Okay, so there's no pulley between the motor and the drivetrain. Okay, so it's more direct. Okay, what that means is it's more efficient, and also means that there's no need to change the pulley, or the pulley doesn't fail, put it that way. Okay, so that makes it a bit more efficient and, as I said, more reliable. Okay, so we talked a lot about all the similarities. Here are sort of the second difference. Look at the batteries. So the batteries are both 60 volt, they're both 35 amp hour, but as you can see, different design. So you cannot interchange Surron and Talaria batteries. Okay, they are different. Okay, so that's one thing to remember. But they are both 60 volt, 38 amp hour. One of the other things about them is that they are not 18650s. Well, that's definitely the case on the Talaria. These are 2170s. And if you know about your lithium-ion batteries, you'll know that the bigger the number, one, it has more capacity, basically. That's the sort of summary of it. So these are about 50% more efficient than 18650s. Okay, so you hear about Tesla's now doing 4096 batteries, again, more efficient. Okay, so that's one thing. Another thing to talk about as we're on batteries is the charger. So if you saw a Surron charger, you wouldn't be making a total mistake to think that this is the same thing, other than the fact that I've written Talaria on it. Okay, the telltale sign though is this. This is Jagori, so these are the sort of, as I've said in many videos before, the sort of my connector of choice, simply because it makes a good connection onto the battery. You don't get that with the Surron. You get a proprietary connector. Okay, it's neither here nor there. It's just another difference. Okay. One of the other things about the Sting is choice of colours, or in fact, no choice of colour. This is the colour black, which, bearing in mind most people want black anyway, it's not a problem. The kits, like decal kits and all that sort of stuff, although not too prevalent right now, I'm sure they will become available. Okay, so another just a couple of things to talk about are the Speedo. Okay, so on the road legal one, you get, you know, miles per hour. That is road legal. This is not actually road legal, but it does give you sort of all the relevant information you need. Okay, so here you've got your state of charge. You can go through the modes on it, and you can see things like battery consumption and average speed and all that sort of stuff, which is basically what you need to know. Okay, from there. To actually activate, you just press the start button, take the side stand off, and then it will then go. Okay, so the mode, you switch the modes as you're riding it here. Okay, and that will take you from sport to eco. Okay, you won't do it because the side stand's down. All right. As for prices, they are the same. The road legal Surron is 4795, as is the road legal Talaria. Off-road is 4495, again the same. Okay, warranties basically the same. The road legal one is not on any sort of grant. That is the price you're paying. Typically the warranties are about 18 months. It does state no competition use in the warranty document. I'm not sure that people who buy this particularly worry about that. And that's about it. So hopefully that's told you everything you need to know. One thing in general I would say about Talaria versus Surron is Surrons are pretty hard to get hold of in the first place, but parts are harder. Trying to get parts for these bikes at the moment seems to be very difficult, whereas Talaria, because they're brought in by Lex, they've got all the parts available. So as I said, if you were really desperate for a Surron part, you might go and get a Talaria part because Lex have got them, or us, we've got them, and then you can put them on your Surron. I mean, it's, as I said, it's not going to work in all cases. Obviously, controllers, batteries, rear swing arm type stuff, definitely not the same. But some of the front end stuff, and maybe discs and brakes almost certainly, they should be interchangeable. Okay, so hopefully you found that useful. You're welcome to come and test ride the road legal one, because we don't allow test riders on the off-road one, as it's illegal. But feel free to contact us at hello@green-mopeds.com if you have any questions, and thanks very much.